Welcome to All Things Retreat Podcast. I'm Holly Porter, your host and CEO of Retreat R&R. With over 25 years of experience in designing transformative retreats, I'm here to share insights and inspiration to help you create extraordinary experiences. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, you'll find valuable ideas here. Enjoy the ride. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome everybody to the show today. We're going to be having a fabulous time with Loren Cellentani. She is a somatic success mentor and the host of the top 2 podcast Sovereign Self Show. After overcoming crippling anxiety, burnout, and health crisis, Loren transformed her life through somatic energy work and spiritual mastery, turning her pain into purpose. Now, with over a decade of coaching experience, she helps lightworker women alchemize anxiety into confidence, amplify their magnetism, create massive impact and income in a purpose-led business. Loren's mission is clear: to end the era of wounded healer and guide women to embrace their divine power with ease and abundance. Welcome to the show, Loren. So happy to have you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Holly, for having me. I know it's going to be a good show when technology is giving a little hiccup for us beforehand. I always know it's going to be a good podcast.
If somebody doesn't want us recording. Well, Loren's a new friend of mine, and we've had a few conversations, and has amazing energy. And I know you're just going to love all the little things that she's going to share with you. She's got great knowledge within the retreat industry and coaching industry. And I'm excited to have her on here. It took us a little while to get this all booked up, but here we are. We're going to come out with the barrels blazing and here to offer up, right?
Yes, I'm excited to dive in wherever the conversation goes. You know, we did a podcast swap, which is amazing. So I feel like this is kind of going to be a continuation of part one of a way.
I love doing that. It's always fun. Why don't you say the name of your show?
So my show is called The Sovereign Self Show. And it's really, I started podcast almost 7 years ago because of my healing journey. And I wanted to have other experts on, and it was a step for me embodying my voice and speaking my truth. And now it's like my listeners evolved, I've evolved. So now it's really about business. It's about who you are being, the spiritual, the energy aspect. And of course, retreats are part of that as well, and how to integrate that into your business model. And as a leader, how do we show up to lead these retreats, especially as a sensitive person, a sensitive soul who can feel the energy in the room and not let that overtake you.
Yes. And there's so many different kinds of retreats and why people go to them. I mean, you name a subject and there could be a retreat on it, right? But you tend to lean to the softer side, and who are your ideal people that you work with mostly?
Yeah, I would say empaths, mostly women. I would just are drawn to me because I'm very feminine energy. Light workers, you heard in the bio, which are just people who feel like they've come to this earth, this lifetime with a purpose, with a mission to help humanity, to serve, to give back. If you've been on a healing journey and now you're like, okay, it's time, if not already, to really give that medicine back. Those are the people I love working with. And it's the energy, it's the internal work that we get to do behind the scenes in our bodies that actually helps amplify the magnetism. The dream clients are drawn to you. You're able to clearly and confidently share your story with the world, which is huge because the imposter syndrome will come up, the witch wounds, of fear of being seen or persecuted or not good enough, whatever, fill in the blank. That's really what I love, to help women realize that they're already this beautiful, powerful, potent version of themselves. And the more that we can practice embodying that, the physical reality will just start to reflect that. And as a side effect, we just feel better. I mean, who doesn't want to,
Better's better. That's my saying. Better's better. Nothing wrong with that. I love that. And I think, we all have the chatter. We talked about, even on your show, how we all have that self-talk in our head that just puts us not in a great place sometimes. And we have to just realize we're all human beings just having an experience. and we want to have the best experience we can. So I think figuring out what's going to create that for each individual person is a huge step in figuring just everything out, right? Your purpose is for years, people told me, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? And oh my gosh, that was like saying the F word to me, because I felt like I had lots of whys. I had lots of reasons. I did lots of things, but to really just know in your gut, this is the reason, this is what I live for. This is the legacy I want to leave. And so I love that you help people find that and figure that out or enhance that with them. So congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
great. So give us your story. Tell us about how you started, because you're living on the road, just so our listeners know that. So she's living the laptop life. And so just, tell us about it. And
Whew. Yeah. So right now, my partner and he and I are traveling full time. Just traveling around the country right now, figuring just cool places we want to see, places where we might want to settle down and start our family. That's what I'm manifesting as my millionaire mom self. Like that's who I'm practicing embodying. So, but before all of this manifestation, over 15 years ago now, during my college graduation, I had my first panic attack. I knew what it was, but it was just anybody who has anxiety understands, very all-consuming. You feel like you are just a bystander to the whole process. I was about to start my journey in corporate America. I had landed a good 9-to-5 job, did everything up to that point, checked off the good girl list, everything I should be doing. And I didn't realize it then. Hindsight's always 2020. But that was really the start of my awakening journey into all of this quarter life crisis, not even quarter life crisis, of realizing, wait, life's going to be more than just this. I did all the things across the list, but I'm not happy. I'm anxious physically. I was like 20, 30 pounds heavier than I am now. Just wasn't me. Didn't feel great. So I started off where I was at. I started off physically. I started off what foods I can eat to help me. How can I become healthy? How can I start moving my body? Which helped with the anxiety, right? When we feed our systems with all these toxins and craps, it just produces, and your hormones are out of balance. It produces more stress, more anxiety, but we know it's not the root cause. So, fast forward a few years later, I'd still working, started my health coaching business, was married, and realized, wow, this is not a healthy relationship. What am I doing? My body was literally screaming at me. I was an external perfect picture, right? As the stories always go, of health, the house, the marriage. But internally, my body just mystery symptoms, chronic hormonal issues, just diagnosis after diagnosis. And I was like, what is going on? And within 2 weeks of deciding to leave the relationship, wasn't something easy, wasn't something I planned on doing, those symptoms went away. And it was really when I started realizing my body is leading the way. And if you listen to the podcast, the name of the podcast has changed over the years, but the tagline is always, your body is not in the way, it's leading your way. And for so many years, whether it was my anxiety, whether it was physical stuff, I felt like I was a victim to my body. I felt like I was a victim to my circumstances. And so that was a huge lesson of what I wanted to explore in my work and in my life. And I committed to myself at that point to really forgive myself and to do more of the inner work. I really believed at that point that I do create my reality. So if I do create my reality, what am I thinking? How did I manifest this? Not a good situation in any sense of the word. And so from that point on, which is almost 10 years ago now, of really researching what works, how do I harness my energy, and switching my business from health coaching to helping women work with their energy, work with their anxiety. And I realized that, oh my goodness, it's scary to put myself out there. It's scary to be like, this is my thing. This is how I can help you. And so through that, I really battled with imposter syndrome, with fear of putting myself out there, really putting myself out there. And again, my body leading the way. I ended up receiving a pre-cancer diagnosis in my uterus. And I was like, what is happening? It was blindsided. I felt fine, but I realized I was still living from the shame, from the fear of really putting myself out there. And my body was calling me to, hey, Lauren, it's time for you to go in. You're still living this safe, closed life. It's time. It's the next initiation to your journey. And, since then, through that healing journey, I've quit my 9 to 5 and working my business full time. I manifested my dream partner who came right to me. They're just crazy, right? And our birthdays, we're speaking off air, you're an 11 person. Our birthdays are palindromes. So his birthday is 0122. My birthday is 1220. So if you switch the 0, there's so many. His middle name is Loren, Loren. You can't make this up. Like that's just the tip of the iceberg of how these manifestations happened. And my own spiritual gifts, the energy work, the Kundalini life force energy, if you guys are familiar with the chakras, started to awaken within me, all because this horrible thing, quote unquote, people might think, this diagnosis led me to this change. Because actually, if you look at a lot of Louise Hay work, she did a lot of metaphysical symptoms to physical aspects. What's the emotional cause? What's the root cause from an energetic perspective? And cancer, what is it? An overgrowth of cells, because your body wants to grow, but you're not growing in some area, whatever area. And that was my womb space. That was creating, whether it's a family, a business, your life, a new version of you. And through that contrast, through all of that ups and downs, because it's always, we know it's a never-ending journey, led me to even deeper clarity of my purpose, led me to the manifestations of things that I didn't even think were possible in this lifetime. And I said, I'm still on that journey. We're traveling full time. It's very challenging. I want to have a home base. I want to have my own space, So all of these things come up for me. I want to have the big land with a beautiful house so we can raise our family and have a garden, all these things. I'm not there yet, but I know the steps that we're taking are bringing me there. So all of those emotions and those thoughts, the same process through my whole journey, I'm going to continue mastering myself. And that's what to underline this whole story and what this whole podcast is about. Your purpose is mastering yourself. I know we want to say, what do I want to do with my life? Even if you know what you want to do, that's going to change, but it's really about the growth. It's really about mastering yourself, especially as a sensitive soul, somebody who feels a lot. That's your superpower. Don't let that be your weakness. And that's what I'm all about. And you guys can tell from my story, it's not a linear path, but it's about who we are along the journey that creates the manifestations, the magic, the synchronicity, and really who we become along the way.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that story. Thinking about hosting a retreat? Before you dive in, let's make sure you're really ready. Grab your free Are You Retreat Ready checklist and find out if you've got everything in place from your purpose and pricing to your audience and agenda. Don't guess. Get clear. This quick checklist will show you exactly where you stand and what you need to make your retreat a success. Click the link below in the show notes to grab your gift and take the first step toward hosting with confidence. So let's talk to people that maybe are newer, thinking about doing retreats, and if they're struggling, what to do them around. Where's their zone of genius that they want to play in? Where would you tell them to start?
Well, I would start to take depending on what you do, whether if it's more of a spiritual, or health-wise, what's your core offering? Are you a yoga teacher? What's your core package? For me, it's look at my mastermind, my old mastermind I did. What are the core principles of how I led people through that transformation? And how can I incorporate that into a retreat? For me, breath work, somatic movement, those kind of things, the teachings, because the more that we understand why we are doing something, then the how gets easier. Then we understand it builds the neural pathways in our brain for us to understand why it's important, so we can get the full benefits from it. And for me, a huge part this is a little tangential, but not because, whatever comes up to your mind during this, it's like Spirit's like, say this. The initiation aspect of one of the first retreats I went to right after I left the marriage was a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. And at that time, still very big retreats, but at that time, way before pre-COVID and all of this, he did these challenge events. And unbeknownst to me, that's what we were doing. So I, by myself, went to Toronto. He does these retreats all over the world, and he starts talking about this challenge retreat. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? And we end up rappelling down a 30-story building, which I'm not a heights person. I'm not a adrenaline junkie whatsoever. This is obviously an extreme case, but it forced you, and I would say over 90% of the 1,100 people that were there did it. A lot of people physically couldn't do it, but so many people actually did it. But what it does is these small, big, doesn't matter, these initiations help people challenge themselves to apply the theory, to apply the principles that you teach in order in these extreme cases so that when they go back to the real world, they're like, oh, this is easy. I got this. Building this business, leaving a relationship, whatever it is, this is cake. I just did a cold plunge for 2 minutes, whatever it is. I just rappelled down a building. I can do anything, but I really find in retreats for myself, those aspects of pushing ourselves to apply whatever the teachings are to more extreme manner helps the people really build the confidence and really learn how to regulate themselves in whatever way that is, rather than just sitting there and meditating for 5 days.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I find that the activities that are maybe a little bit outside of what your core teachings are, but they allow the people to apply it so you can build the wisdom and the experience and the confidence to go back into your everyday life and actually integrate what you learn.
Yeah. When you had mentioned before that you had done the meditation retreat, are we talking about a 5 day of silence where no one's talking at all? Or talk about that for a
Yeah.
minute.
So it was a 5 day, mostly just guided meditations. We did walking meditations that we all had the audio. He guided through sitting down meditations, a lot of energy centers, which are chakra meditation, pineal gland meditation, all of these different theme meditations that he led live. I've been on yoga retreats, right, where we do different classes, a couple of classes throughout the day. Breathwork retreats are the same thing. Is what I find is, a balance of being guided, but then as a seasoned practitioner, but as a participant, I like the balance. For me, it's like, okay, I know the principles. Now, let me apply it and go deeper, whether it is a silent meditation or allowing the people just to kind of do their own thing to apply that knowledge, which kind of goes back to the challenge aspect. But I really find, a couple day retreat, I would say a 3 to 5 day retreat for me is where I find always the most transformation, because you're outside of the, you told I forget the exact definition, but the definition of retreat before is you're completely gone from your normal life, your normal reality, retreating from the normal environment. And I think that's a beautiful way to really choose and tend who you want to be. Why are you coming to retreat? Why
Yeah.
are you hosting retreat? And that's part of the sales process too, is tell that story. Yes, you teach people how to lose weight. Yes, you teach people how to learn yoga. But what is the story so that they can do what? So they can be active with their children for longer, so that they can make a massive impact and income and still enjoy their life and still love themselves and not be burnt out. What is that extra aspect that these people consciously or maybe not consciously know of why they want to come to your retreat?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge opportunity if you are thinking about hosting a retreat.
What do you think is the sweet spot of how many attendees?
I think honestly, it depends on your goals. What are your number goals, right? At the end of the day, you got to make the numbers work. And I know that, the services you guys offer really help with that aspect and logistic. I've been to retreats that have had 10, 15, all the way up to 2,000 people.
Wow.
I think it just really depends on what are you comfortable leading,
Yeah.
right? Like, what space do you feel that you can challenge yourself, but also what are you energetically, what do you feel like you can hold space for?
Well, and so when you say a couple hundred, do you say a couple thousand or a couple
Couple
hundred?
thousand.
Are they staying in a hotel?
Dr. Joe Dispenza retreats, they rent out the whole, whether it's the convention center, the hotel, the whole huge ballroom where they
Right.
have a bunch of chairs set up, enough for people to sit down, lay down, but um, that's probably not the scale we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Those are multi-million dollar events
Right.
that he's got a whole
Yeah.
company that helps him with that. But
Oh, yeah, for sure.
um, you know, there's so many different ways I think you can host retreats, whether it's through an Airbnb, getting a space, and having a chef come in, or working with a hotel or retreat center. And I know the services you guys offer kind of help you just with all that stress and
Yeah.
the trying to figure out all the logistics when you still have your own business to run. When you still have to show up and like provide for your clients and your own life, it's easier to have help and support in those ways, especially when we're new to doing things, not have the skills maybe or the expertise.
Well, and then when someone wants to do a retreat, if it's something new, what kind of clientele do you have now? And is that who you want to attract more of
Mm,
to create a retreat around that? What type of people are you looking to bring in, right? Because your purpose and your business plan and things can evolve and change.
yeah,
And maybe like they don't change, but they evolve. I guess
yeah.
I want to say maybe your purpose still stays the same, but the plan changes because life throws us curveballs and economy situations and COVID situations throw us different angles that we have to reassess, stand back and, look at how to do things differently and also look at what's going to have you stand out. Retreats aren't
Mhm.
going away. They're projected in the next 10 years to increase 101% more. So that they're not going anywhere. If it's something you're kind of on the fence with, you want to set yourself up for success. You want to make sure you've attended other people's retreats and that you know what it is you want to do. What kind of are you a transformational? Are you a yoga retreat? Are you a business retreat? You've got to make all those decisions in your plan and then work around that. It's nice to have help. It's nice to get training. There's courses. We have a course. I mean, there's courses you can take that'll teach you how to do retreats. Listen to the podcast. We'll have lots of guests like you that can help people get those emotions figured out and business ideas figured out. And there's all kinds of things we'll be talking about. So anything else that you can think of that you want to share?
I would say, if you are thinking about doing a retreat or nervous about, going all in, try to do like a mini retreat, do a virtual retreat, do, what I did when we weren't traveling full time, I would do 1 day retreats at like the yoga studio I teach at, or, different wellness spaces, whatever industry you're in. Just try a mini version
Yeah.
to prepare you, to practice you, and to make sure your messaging is on point. It's not a huge
Yeah.
investment. Maybe it's even just a few hours. It can be in person or virtual. Just building that confidence through taking the action is huge, but also it's going to show you the energetic, the inner work, the mind chatter that comes up of where you need to course correct, where you need to deep dive so that you can show up at a bigger capacity and allow that income, allow that
Mhm.
impact to come in, because as women, we are natural receivers. And when we are constantly trying and doing, but operating from this lack, operating, trying energy, it's always going to be separate. So when we can really step into that feminine energy and allow and know that we are worthy, not because of our accolades, not because of the numbers or whatever, just for who we are as a divine being, that's when the magic happens.
Oh, I love that. The word I heard big loud is allow. And I think that's amazing. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing some words of wisdom and inspiring retreat leaders and aspiring retreat leaders that want to do retreats. I think that listening to this show will really help them sort out some things maybe they hadn't thought of. And I love the different energies of the different guests that we have on here for that reason, because we're all different and we
Yeah.
all learn different and we all have different kinds of businesses. Thank for joining us on this episode of All Things Retreat. We hope you're leaving with new ideas, fresh inspiration, and the motivation to take your retreats to the next level. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us grow and reach more retreat leaders like you. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hello, send us an email at info@weretreatrnr.com. Follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all the latest updates. Until next time, remember, great retreats start with great intentions. Let's make them extraordinary, one step at a time.